It's November 1st, probably the saddest day of the year, mainly because everyone immediately forgets about Halloween and moves on to Christmas. But here at ML Miller Frights, we celebrate horror all year long. Just because my best in horror countdown is over doesn't mean there's no more horror to talk about. I hope you'll all stick around and check out my thoughts on new horror films like the one in today's review, Night of the Hunted. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below, share this video with all of your social media addicted pals, click subscribe to this channel, and ring that bell for notifications. Night of the Hunted is new streaming on Shudder. It's directed by Frank Calfoun and written by Ruben Avila Calvo, Glenn Fryer, and Frank Calfoun. This one's also produced by Alexandra Aja. Alice, played by Camille Rowe, is returning home to her husband after spending the weekend with her lover John, played by Jeremy Scipio, at a pharmaceutical convention. Alice and John stop at a gas station to fill up for the long drive home, but after Alice finds no one at the counter at the gas station, she's shot by a sniper who traps her and John at the station. With the phone lines cut and no one coming down the highway at this time of night, the only person Alice can interact with is the sniper, who threatens to shoot her if she comes out from behind the corn chip aisle.
Die, gas pupper!
Night of the Hunted is a film along the lines of Ryuhei Kitamura's excellent sniper horror movie Downrange, only stupider for modern audiences.
He hates these cans!
This was surprising to me because Night of the Hunted is a film from Frank Calfoun, who delivered the astonishingly good remake of Maniac with Elijah Wood and the intense trapped in a parking garage thriller P2. So I expected a little more out of Night of the Hunted that one would get from your normal horror flick. Then again, Calfoun was also responsible for I Lived, Amityville: The Awakening, and Prey. So Maniac and P2 might have been flukes. The problem with Night of the Hunted is that it's got 15 minutes of story stretched out to an hour and a half of movie. Sure, there's the usual stuff of Alice trying to figure out where the sniper is, what areas are safe to move around in inside the gas station, and what aren't, and what is handy she can use to defend herself and mend her wounds. But in between those instances, there's a whole lot of gabba gabba, and this allows both Alice and the sniper to air their grievances in no particular order to one another. Of course, Alice is a social media rep for a big pharma. She's had an abortion or 3. And of course, she's a 90-pound feminist able to go toe-to-toe physically with a military vet when need be. On the other side of the Hollywood cliché coin is the sniper, who is pro-gun, anti-woke, anti-vax, racist, sexist, pro-life, and jobless white dude, who is pretty much the exact opposite of Alice.
There's cans in there too!
While I guess the director was trying to be fair by giving both sides a chance to rant and rave their side of the story, it all ends up being just a garbled crowd noise of buzzwords we see extremists arguing about on social media every day if you choose to pay attention to that kind of crap. Any person who might lay in the middle of these extremes are going to find it as enjoyable as a cheese grater to the groin to have to listen to these two argue on a walkie-talkie for what seems like hours and hours of this hour-and-a-half long flick.
I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days. The first day seemed like a week, and the second day seemed like 5 days, and the third day seemed like a week again, and the fourth day seemed like 8 days. The 5th day, you went to see your mother, and that seemed just like a day. But then you came back, so in the evening it seemed like 2 days spilling over into the next day, and that started seeming like 4 days. So at the end of the 6th day, on into the 7th day, it seemed like a total of 5 days. I have it written down, but I can show it to you tomorrow if you want.
There are a few stylistic choices that work, The initial 15 minutes where everything is set up is strong, but once things get settled in and both Sniper and Alice are at a standoff, everything falls apart. The acting is okay. While Alice is placed in an absolutely unlikable light from the very beginning, talking with her husband about going to a fertility clinic while her lover showers in the background, she plays the tough girl as well as any 90-pound model can. Stasha Stanek plays the voice of the Sniper and is able to vomit far-right cliches without busting out in laughter at how insipid the script is, while trying to sound like he's got all the counters to Alice's points. Personally, seeing two idiots scream at one another from distant extremes isn't my idea of entertainment, but I do appreciate the detail that you never really see who this unseen threat really is. And while the argument tries to be unbiased, it clearly puts Alice in the role of the virtuous victim, despite the fact that she's unfaithful and self-centered for most of the movie. More than a couple of people die just because of her. Had the movie any guts, it would have made Alice as steadfast in her faults as much as the Sniper is, but that's not the case here.
I was born a poor black child.
Don't get me wrong, I don't lean either way, so those looking for an ally in this whole debate are missing the point of my criticism. I come to horror because most of the time, whomever party you follow, all come to particularly gory ends. It's escapism from the clatter of noise that we are all inundated with on a daily basis. So I guess, ultimately, I'm not the target audience for Night of the Hunted. And I bet that unless you just love to hear your own political points validated, it's not going to be for you too. It's also not for anyone who wants to make a lick of sense from the script, as it has more holes than a trucker hat. From the beginning, the husband encourages Alice to take a specific road home. The car they are driving has a hole in the gas tank. The Sniper knows who Alice is, what she does, and who she's spent the weekend with. These two poster people for opposing parties are too busy cliché battling one another, so there isn't enough time for some kind of resolution to any of the points that brought Alice to this specific spot in the first place, where the Sniper was set up. Sure, one might assume that the Sniper had been hired to off Alice, but this detail is never resolved. One might argue that what brought these two into conflict is not important, but in a story, some things have to make sense in order for the audience to follow, and it seems the filmmakers are much more concerned about listing grievances than dealing with simple narrative cohesion or competency.
There's something I want to say that's always been very difficult for me to say. I slit the sheet I slit, and on the slitted sheet I sit.
In the end, Night of the Hunted, it seems to feel very proud of itself for its nihilistic views, but supports it with some of the most insufferable back and forthings you're going to hear this side of a public message forum without a moderator. If you're looking for this premise done right, see Downrange. It's an excellent experiment in tension, unpredictability, and sheer terror. But trying to play it both ways and front-rowing real-life annoyances into a genre many turn to as escapism kills any potential Night of the Hunted ever had with its premise. See it at your own peril. I wish I hadn't.
What do you think I am, some kind of a jerk or something?
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're